All right. Welcome to the Just Jump In live stream, and bear with me for a moment as I manage some technical difficulties. Hopefully, you can see me now. And so let's go with this one. All right. So well, there we go. I think we got it now. So sorry about that as I'm trying new and different things. Of course, things are going to go slightly awry or very awry. Welcome, Mom. Nice to see you in here. And Scale Burlington, welcome in. Randy, welcome. Hi, Tom. Welcome in. Nice to have you in here. As I work through all of my fun little difficulties, because I'm just trying new stuff and thought I'd add a new camera angle, thought I'd add a kind of a welcome screen, trying to get used to Restream, and it's sort of happening. I also have my computer up, so I have more room on the desk while I'm talking to you guys. And that the camera, the above camera on my iPad, is kind of in the way. Hey, Jimmy, welcome in. Tim, nice to see you. I don't do clean, Randy. Nothing I do is clean. Welcome in, Gopher Girl. Gopher Girl, maybe in, maybe out. She's still recovering, and it's a slow recovery. We're kind of dealing with the reality of all the stuff that's changing, and not having a car right now, and she's really reduced on what she can do. Just I a little bit, just looking at the screen for this live stream, she's probably gonna, have a little trouble with that and be offline, within a half hour or so. It's while all the bones and everything were good and she wasn't actually struck on her side or anything in the accident, there's still residual effects that we're dealing with. So we'll keep working on getting her better and being herself again. So again, welcome in. Happy Friday. Hope everything is going well for everybody. I did a little work on the passenger cars. I took on a slightly different project, and I probably have to get some photos because I don't remember if I shared it last week, but I did a 3D printed version of like a Merchant's Row. And there's this very good model railroad designer out there that gives his designs away for free. And he's designed, I think, 12 buildings very similar to DPM kits and very similar to Merchant's Row. And he does like 3 buildings together at a time. So I printed one of those out a while ago, worked on the sides, the brick sides for a while. Gopher Girl did the colors on it. Hey, Art, welcome in. Nice to see you in here. And so if I can pull up some pictures of that, I'll try and do that tonight. But once she got those done, the colors done, I kind of started on it, worked on other projects, and I had an opportunity to finish it up. I got it mostly finished. Doesn't have like windows. It doesn't have it doesn't have a lot of detail to it, and I don't know if I'll do that. I'm just kind of filling one area of my layout, just to practice things and practice printing, practice with um, uh, model railroading techniques and everything. Um, and so there was that. The other thing is thinking ahead, which I always do because, I don't have enough projects. Um, I was trying to think of motorized vehicles or motorized, instead of just engines, because I could build multiple engines for um, um, which I plan to do. And I started that. I had started designing and printing prints of the shell and the underbody for one of the engines. Um, but the other thing I want to do is maybe try and do something a little simpler. And I don't know if I'm picking something more simple, but there was only really one high rail vehicle that I'm aware of, put out by Bachman, that's motorized. So I was just seeing for size what I could do. So, and you'll have to forgive me, everything I printed recently is in this blue. Um, Hobby Lobby um, started carrying filament, and cheaper line of filament, and so I was testing with that. And I basically, unless I'm specifically building something up, um, I yes, Mom, I did see that one. I appreciate you sending that. It's really neat that those look really nice. The um, not my work on it, but the actual prints look really nice. So I printed this out. This is supposed to be HO scale. This bed is really small, but Bachman uses a really small motor. I would have to build something up that's a little bigger than this, and we can cover up the motor here. But this is uh, kind of let's see, kind of a test print just to see size and see what I could do back there. Um, Again, that's down the line. I've got to keep working on the projects I have in front of me, and right now that's mainly the passenger cars. Um, so, but I'm prototyping right now with that. Um, Let me see if I can. I don't know if I can do it because I don't have them readily available. I'll have to share them in the group. If I don't know if I may have shared them in the uh, Twin Cities division group. The other thing, and I'm not showing it here, and I don't know why, but I'm testing having another camera here. So here's me. Hi. Um, and this you can see here's the setup I have to raise the printer to give myself more room. It's the film in itself is actually not bad. It's fine. There's lots of printer film. There's lots of filament out there that is that price. They charge $12.99 for their basic filament colors. And or $13.99 for their basic filament colors. So you do an Amazon search, you can find a lot. And I forget which brand it's supposed to be or most like, including the spool that it comes on, but it's a known brand. So I think it's just a cheaper version of it. Um, and so. Um, yeah, Jimmy, I don't seem to finish the projects either. I almost got done with the or got close to the cab cart was functional, except for some of the wires came loose. At our skills day, I was going to try and have Lou get me settled with the ESU commands, figuring out which ones are which, because I think I switched some of them up by accident and trying to map everything out. But that one's probably the closest to done, unless you count the 3D printed Merchant's Row. So the next thing was, okay, so this right here is one of 3 printed hoppers. Couldn't think of a word, as usual, that I have. It's just a really nice basic car. Doesn't have a lot of detail. It's also coming apart from this. Doesn't have a super amount of detail in this. The other 2 that I have, I showed you last week, that are like heavily weathered. They're the same ones as these. So I was like, it would be nice to have kind of a load that you could put in. I was thinking along the lines of Split Rock, and how he puts pins in his to identify the cars and stuff. So I was thinking something in the middle that I could easily pull out. As you can see here, I have the weights in here. So what do I have plenty of? I have plenty of this. This stuff is a lot of plastic waste from the 3D printing. When it calibrates, or the filament, when it calibrates everything at the beginning of print, it'll eject some of the filament. Also, when you're changing filaments from one to the other, it will eject some of those as well. When it's cleaning things out, it will eject this up. There's a lot of this, and you can control some of that, but it's still, there's a lot. So I was like, well, there's an instant load. I could do a plastic factory of some kind, but I wanted to do something that I could pull the load out easily and stuff. So I went old school, and my prototype is this, and you can see the glue dried the way it did, and uneven, as I tried to get it as even as possible. And, you know, it's just designed to go in here like so, minus the car coming apart. And then this is actually the piece I put in the middle is actually a support from a print that when you have an overhang, it needs a support. It needs to be printing straight up. It can't just print in the air. And so I glued that down, and so that's my handle, so I can get that in and out. That works fine, and I can build this up more. But I wanted to over-engineer it. So what did I start doing? I started prototyping, and my measurements were way off as usual. And so this is my first prototype, and you can see that, first of all, it's very thick, and it's very short. The only thing I did right on this was got the height right, so that it fits right in there. Then 5 different prints later, I used just one of the sides to try and get the length right. And then, you know, you had to got this longer. I didn't even finish it on the end. I just wanted to print and see. Again, it's still short on there. It still fits, and then it's thick again. So that's another one. And then I essentially made changes, but had I ended up making changes, and then ended up having they ended up being the same size, and I thought I extended them, but I made these thinner, so that was a good start. But then again, here I am again, too short on those. So I went in again, measured it through again, and I made it longer, but now it doesn't fit all the way down. So I'm not smart enough to get these angles correct, and along with the length. So I've run into that. So if anybody can help figure that piece out so that it can line along these edges in here correctly, I would appreciate any help there, because technically it fits whichever end. Well, actually, this one has a harder time fitting, and I don't know if the angle is slightly different. I'm not sure exactly how to fix that. I've run into that problem. So then the idea is, do I go back to this, or do I try filling this up? And it's still, this one's going to be off. I could use the thicker one, and that might work. So have a good night, Gopher Girl. I'm sure I'll hear the dogs. I'm sure we'll all hear the dogs as you come upstairs. Hey, Randy, I've gotten there. The filament works just fine there. It's slightly more expensive than what you can get on Amazon. But they have tons of filament there. They have, I can't use with the Bamboo A1. I can't use anything that has fumes. So like an ABS and those types, I can't use. They have some of that there, but they have TPU. They have the PLA, which is most popular for most people. They have PET G. They have a ton of colors. They have a ton of types. So like if you're gonna get like the carbon fibers and those sorts of things, they have them. Their brand is Inland, and I believe you can get them online as well, or go to the store. But they have in their maker space, you walk in, you go all the way over to the left side. They have a not just 3D printers and filament and stuff, but they have other maker stuff there, other hobby stuff that you can get there. Without having to pay. I don't know. I just got that was really cheap. They had like a 4-pack, and I think it was or like, well, maybe it wasn't. I don't know how it was one of the cheaper ones. It was like $11 for a 4-pack of this. That's with all their other maker stuff in that space there. But yeah, the Inland stuff is fine. I started with that because I bought a couple rolls because I bought my printer from there. So I didn't know what I was doing when I started. So some prints were really successful because the settings were the settings from somebody else. But when there was an issue with that, I didn't yet know how to fix it. I thought maybe it was the filament, and as I've been learning, it's not. It's what you do with it. So you definitely can get stuff there. They don't have a lot of sales there. I don't get a lot of you don't see a lot there because they have so much other stuff that they make their money on, and I think they make more of their money on the printers. So you're gonna have different color taconite for to indicate which pins are which. So this was a little side project. I'm actually impressed with how solid the glue is. So I used Aleene's glue and I filled this up with some. You can see here's a loose one, but everything else is solid on here. I first did Aleene's glue, their original, which I like. It's a very tacky glue. There are other Woodland Scenics as a tacky glue you can use to put a few down to be the base. Otherwise, these would roll all over. And then for the layers on top, I flooded with the old 50 mix of glue and water, and then the wet water to allow it to flow down through these pieces of plastic. And so it's pretty solid there. There's just a couple of loose pieces, but I let it dry for a while. And then I used the Tamiya extra thin glue for the styrene. I'm tending to like the Plastrex stuff. It's more aggressive than this extra thin because this is extra thin. So for something like this, to hold it in place, I would have probably rather use that. Now I'm out of that. I'll have to pick some up. But otherwise, I use this extra thin and it works great all other times. And there they are. I don't know if you can hear them. So that was a project that I was working on this week as well. And then I'll have to glue that back on, and I'll keep working on that. See if I can get something to fill that up. Forgot about these things. So last we left off on this one, we got the doors to fit appropriately. I didn't set them in or anything yet. I do want to go over this again, because let's see if we can turn that light off to see if you can see that. It's a little hard to see, but I sanded this down so much that you can see lines here, and and it's gotten down to the styrene, so it's going to end up having lines when you paint. Same on this side as well. Nope, as usual, this is super blurry. Let's see if we can use this one. I don't know if I've got to get used to where this one is. See, there you go. You can see the, oh boy, sorry. You can see the lines there. So more work has to be done on that before we do anything else. And this one was the problem child, where they were all in the wrong place. So I went ahead and filled this in, and I started the cutting. You can see here pretty roughly. Let's see if now what was happening was the glue wasn't holding, and I was using the extra thin glue, wasn't holding the styrene pieces in place. So when I went to cut, these would just move around, and it actually happened on this side too. So I redid this side as well. But you can see I still have stuff to cut, but I got a little bit smarter. Sometimes that happens. And you can now see through that it's just about lined up there. As I cut this one wider, it'll be more lined up. But yeah, I had to do some pretty big reconstructive surgery on that one. You can still see some of the maybe you can still see some of the styrene tubing I put in there, rod that I put in. So I have to get back to working on this. This should be solid again. I'll still be a little bit more gentle with this because it's going to need more. I'm going to have to also put on more putty again and sand that down. So we're moving along with those. These there needs to be super detail on them, so I'm gonna have to do some work on the ends here. I don't know if I have a way to because it's a camera online, I don't know if I can, don't really have a flash on here for this. So I'll have to figure that out a little bit, or angle the lights, but to help more. But you can see up here are kind of fake lights in here. And it's generally a pretty easy job to cut those out and add LEDs, put in some crystal clear, like I did on the cab car, and then the wheels just have to have pickup from the track to make the lights work. And something like this will end up probably just staying on. I definitely know from the cab car, and sorry, I don't know why that's jumping around. It may be trying to autofocus. The the cab car, what I was learning was using the method of having the tube, using the brass tube on the wheel sets, is you really still, even though that works, it really needs, and I have bad track, so that was the indicator. It really needs a keep alive, and I didn't add a keep alive to it. What I'm thinking of doing with the cab car is actually changing out the decoder, and adding a decoder with motor control. So the one I have is the ESU version 5 FX, and FX just means it doesn't have motor control. It was $30 cheaper. And it was supposed to, and I'm supposed to be able to consist it with an engine, so that it simulates the sound. Now, one of the things, the mapping kind of got screwed up, but I also think I read that it also needs to be with another ESU decoder. Now, I don't know if that's true, and I haven't been able, there's not a lot of information out there, so I haven't been able to verify it. But if that's the case, I it might just I could easily make it, not easily, but I can add an engine in there, change up the underbody. So I would have to take out the seating, or figure out where I would have to take out the seating, and put the engine in, and figure that out. And then that'll be one of my rolling stock. And then, one of these could be the car. The other thing that I'm still working on is, still, I have to redesign the underbody. But I want to do that, and I want to go ahead and try and design one of these so that that can count as one of the scratch built cars. They do need a friend, don't they? But why do they have to be the friend of the same same kind? I rather prefer diverse friends. The I think the engine that I was pairing it with was actually an Amtrak engine, but it was I believe a Bachmann. Was it? I don't know if it was a Tsunami. I'll have to double check on that. I haven't. What else? Oh, yeah, no, this one is supposed to have a ESU decoder in it, I believe. The box says ESU, and I don't think anyone. I don't think they changed it up. This is pretty much right out of the box. But it's this Atlas Masterline. sorry, I'm gonna get used to this AEM7 locomotive. And again, that's the Amtrak. There are undecorated ones. I could pick one up. Scale Model Supply has, I think, two of these that were undecorated. I probably could still pick one up if I wanted to. I don't remember if it had a decoder in it though, and I'm gonna guess that it didn't have one in it. But can't get over there anytime soon anyway. So our focus is finding a car first. So what is everybody else working on? Those were the main projects that I did this week. Well, that's not all true. I also I've also almost finished the video for the Model Railroad Primer. That's going to be a companion or a video version of the article that I'm writing for the Fusey. That article's just about done. It's actually just waiting for the link to the video, and then I can get that to Neil for publish. So I got to get that done soon. So I'll be working on it this weekend. And then the other thing I wanted to share, and I've shared this before, but one of the things, as much as people yell about model railroader being too simple, or or it's they talk about how thin it's gotten and that the articles are too basic and towards new people, I say that's fine. At times I still believe that I'm a new modeler, so maybe that speaks to me more. There are, when I look at railroad model craftsmen, I'm not like seeing a whole lot of difference. I'm seeing some more technical stuff. I'm seeing more, instead of demonstration layouts in there, I'm seeing more established layouts in there. Some of the articles on cars and building the cars and things may have a little more detail, but they both inspire me in the same way. I have a bunch of old model railroaders that my mother and father picked up from a library, tons of them, and I look through them and do read some of it for ideas and things that inspire me. And I know I brought this up a while ago, but this Rock Island station that they built up here is an actual place, Mediopolis, and it's something they actually built out of a boxcar. And ever since I've looked at this, and got into building cars and building structures and things, I want to build this. I'm really inspired to do it. And to me, it doesn't look like there's a lot to do. You probably can't see it. I can try and it might help if I focus on this. I'm probably breaking some copyright thing or something showing this, but you can see that this is the side of a car that's just been cut into, and it's been like either filled in with cement or some kind of board has been put over top, but you can see some of that fade there and part of the car. And then you have the ends. The ends are obvious. They're ends of a car. That's pretty simple. If I want to do something with the end of with the car side, that might be a little more difficult to come up with a way to fill that in. But if you look at this side, this looks pretty solid. So this could be as easy as, two car ends and then styrene for the sides. I don't necessarily need that, or I could make some kind of other indication, wearing down some of the styrene or sanding it down. The roof to me generally looks like it be pretty easy to do. It's cutting shapes and cutting rectangle. And then the details are the details that you need to come up with. But this has just intrigued me forever. And I come back to it all the time. I found it again. I got my trusty bookmark for it, and um, and so that's a project I'm really itching to try. Um, so I was trying to decide whether I buy a box car somewhere, and you wouldn't think it would be that hard to find a very short um, Rock Island box car. Um, but it wasn't so easy. I've been to a couple train shows now. I have yet to find one. The one or two Rock Island cars I found were much longer. Um, so this might just be, it might just suffice to um, get the car ends as accessories, and then build this up over top of it with styrene or plastic, or or 3D print some parts or whatever it may be. Um, but it's a project I'm itching to do, and um, I don't know if this would count as a structure. I mean, it would count as a structure if I built it, scratch built structure. I don't know where it would fit into the railroad that I want to do, but at this point, that's not necessarily needed. Just to do the structure certificate, I need the structures. It doesn't have to fit in anywhere. So, and I'll have to, you know, anyway. So I've been really itching to do this one. And it's a really short um, article. It doesn't have any modeling information really on it, um, other than it's inspiring to try and do. And this was from this is from January of 2005, so 20 years ago. This one. This dude's probably all grown up and probably knee deep in his own model railroad. Anyway, so don't discount a magazine like this for ideas, because you can find some great ideas in there. I had the idea, so the Walthers has um, like roof vent type accessory kit, and I was like, I want to try and build that, and so I did do that on my own. And that was inspired by a guy who did an article where he built O-scale vents. And so don't have, where did I put them? I actually think I put them a vent on a car somewhere. Somebody did a much better vent than I did. I did his, which were basic. It didn't have all these lines in here. So let's see. But this was a 3D printed one. Somebody designed this, and I got this online. But that's not the one I did didn't have this rounded end. It was kind of straight tubing. But it still looked like a vent like this. It looked very similar on that. So again, don't discount these magazines that everybody who's an established modeler seems to think is not a good magazine. It is a good magazine. Yes, this is an older one, so it's thicker than probably the new ones are. The other thing that they do now is they put on a live stream. I think it's every Tuesday in there, and they go around to all the different workers. David Pop still hosts it under their digital name, and they go around and they talk to Cody and all the others who are working on stuff, and they'll premiere some stuff if they have some new models that they're working with or showing off, or testing. And David Pop's always working on their layout in there. And so he's always showing what he's working on. So I think they have the webcam on 24 hours. But they do like an hour live stream where they talk to everybody and walk around the office of the camera. It is what it is. To me, it's inspiring watching those people be able to get paid to do what they do. And now they do a lot of publishing stuff, and they're not always working on the models and everything. And I get that, but it's another inspiring thing. Anyway, so don't discount those. How can you remember an issue like that 20 years ago? That must have had an impression on you. So, there was one, I don't know if this is the one. There was a series in I think the 2010s, maybe it was earlier, where it was build a layout for under $500. And I'm like, how in the world can you do that? But it was prices back then, not prices now. And I have to remember when I see that it's possible. So maybe it's building a layout under $5,000 now. I don't know for sure. But I have a bunch of these lying around somewhere. And you can, hey Brad, welcome in. You can find those magazines if you want to go through some. You can do what I did to find the model or Craftsman ones I needed, and sit in the back of Scale Model Supply and just go through the magazines. This is the one I'm working on. I sat in the back there looking for 2 articles by Frank Cicero. One from 98, one from 95. And it was this one. This one's from 1998. And I went in here and, and this is what I'm basing the builds off of. And this is good. I took pictures of all of this because this is getting pretty ratty. And it has some good diagrams. Here's a diagram that's real sized. If I do this, you might be able to see it on here. Did I lose? I lost my side camera. Let's get back over here. So let me see if I can find where all that is. That's not what I need. That's design. Let's try that. Okay. So anyway, if I put this up against these, that's actually full size. So that's really neat. It also goes in and has exploded diagrams of some of the more, one of the tougher pieces is this water treatment plant. I got a reasonable facsimile of this, but built that. And then this is the important one. This is the basic cab car arrangement for the underbody. And so what I did, because this was nice, but it wasn't scale, so I scaled it up. And so I have this template, and so this helped me place everything. And this one was basic. It doesn't have everything on here, but this was all the major components, including the sewage treatment, which I put on the cab car. I didn't put it on the two the two coaches, but here, for instance, is a coach. And again, I don't have the camera controls there to focus in on it, but if I were to lay this on top, this goes right on top, and you have your scale. And actually, if I'm looking at it the way this is where everything is. And so this was really, really helpful to do this. So I'm glad I thought of it when I did. Got me going on that. But I have both of these underbodies are done. So that back room is as big as you will not get lost in there. That back room's pretty big. They have that. I know they're not specifically involved, but they have that racetrack back there for the cars, and I've never understood that. It goes way too fast for me, and I'm like, everybody is at full throttle on those things, and that stuff's crazy. So I'm going to go back into an old box of stuff here just to show you. I actually have 3 attempts basically that I did trying to build this car, 3D print the underbody. The size and locations of things were off. The size here is good, but the bolsters are off. And the holes don't matter as much here. That's just for wiring. So those are useful wherever you can put them. But the bolsters are off. I was able to build out that interior piece. I did something I don't understand what I did here, but it was like it did something weird with the texture, almost like it got repeated. Part of it got repeated. Here's one. I had white filament at the time. And again, this one looks like this one does. So I'm close, but I haven't. So the program that I use on Shape is what they call parametric. And so what that means is it saves every step, and you can go back into previous steps and make a change, and it will update everything based on that change. So when I was going in to move these, because I built this in such a clunky way, I couldn't move it correctly to have the wheel set to put the bolsters where they need to go. Also, I think this is a little bit thin, the center sill for what we need here. So I have to get back to working on that, because if I can design this to get to somewhere around here, I could actually assemble in the program. I can assemble all of these 3D printed pieces. These are all 3D printed. The only thing that's not are the styrene wiring that's on the sill, and then the brass wiring that's on the sides. Everything else I was able to design 3D print. The steps are part of that came with that, are part of the underbody. So I'll get back to working on that, because then I can claim that I designed it, and that it's fully outside of commercial parts for like the trucks. It's fully scratch built, So that gets back to then working these out. And I did a prototype of um, an Amtrak um, car that I had um, in N scale, and I prototyped it in N scale originally, and then built it up in HO scale, and everything, you know, as for one side, everything came out the way it should. The roof I would have to do differently because I'm not real used to doing roofs that have angles on them yet or curves on them. But this was a old prototype I did on that as well. So the adventure continues as I work through all of this. And of course, I have all these side projects I like to do, but I do want to get paperwork done on these cars, and so I have one done that merited, and the paperwork's done on it and everything. But then I need the additional cars to do so to get that done, and I picked the cars because it was I was frustrated with doing the station and building the New Brunswick station, um, and so I moved over to the cars. But I still want to get back to working on stuff. I still have to connect with Tom on building track. So, kit bashing is something I want to be able to do. Um, it's a little intimidating to me because it takes some imagination to be able to imagineer something together that doesn't really exist. And, it's not always just putting two buildings together. Some of it is, but um, it, I would like to, I would like to see if I could do that. That would be another challenge to be able to kit bash and get a structure that you like out of that. Um, so definitely have to take a look, see if I can find articles by Art Curran and E.L. Moore. Think that they would be pretty be pretty interesting to. I've seen kit bashing, but I suppose you have to have the proper um, thing in mind that you want to do, and then you have to find the parts to it. And then I think, well, then why don't I just build them? Why don't I scratch build if I could? The other thing I think is I've tried it. I tried to do like an old wood box car that was really, I don't know if it was Tyco or what, but it was an old one that was in a group of stuff that I had that wasn't mine when I was a kid. It was my dad's or my brother's. I have a bunch of Tyco type. Oh no, I'm sorry. There were a bunch of Lionel HO scale that were uh, that we had, and my mom sent them to me. And there was a wood box car that was this really bright plastic and everything. And I thought, well, why don't I make just kind of like an abandoned wood box car, but cut it out and make it like a little um what like place where people could go sit and eat, like almost like a gazebo type thing. And cutting that was a learning curve, and wasn't as easy as some of these other things might be. So I've always been intimidated to cut, like if I was going to do a low relief building, to cut the sidewalls to be an inch or two, Um, so what I did, and I showed that last week, was at least in the 3D model, I kit bashed that, but using 3D tool, I kit bashed that to make it smaller because I needed to fit it in between tracks that I had. So I had to take, I don't know, a third or more of the building away. So Stuckum Glue Works. Was that, did you do a straight copy or did you do your own kit bash? So, let's see. I don't want to do that. So I found, well, Gopher Girl's old phone, our last phones, which we had forever. We had iPhone 11Rs, and we had them probably 6 years longer than they needed to be around. But they worked fine. The video worked fine. That's what I got started on before we got the latest ones, which are our semi-latest ones. I think we have 16s or something like that. But let's see. So I'm probably going to use that. I have my current phone as the other camera. Let's see what comes up here. See if I can find anything on it. Probably not. So styrene and wood N scale scratch. That's right. You do N scale. That's right. So this, I don't know if this. Let's see. It's a much slower phone, that's for sure. All right. I was just trying to see if I could find anything on it at all. Yeah, there's a few things that pop up when I put the name in. So I'll have to take a look. Not that I need more projects, but I do want to work on the passenger cars this weekend a little more. The only thing else I printed since I got the parts in that I needed is the hook. So my workbench is 2 horses and board on top of that. The horses have hooks on each end, which are really convenient for a lot of things, but too thin for this right here. And so this is constantly falls off. So I printed a hook that would fit it, and that goes on the end of the end of the table. So yeah, I I originally had this computer desk that had a hutch on top and shelving on the bottom of it, and I just brought with me from New Jersey the just the desk part of it, and I've had that for years and used that. And then eventually, when I got into model railroading and needed a workbench, I also stole my dad's horses. He had a couple horses that he used, and I brought those home with me. And so I set that up as a work table, but that became now the printer table for the bamboo printer. So I went out to Home Depot or Menards and bought some. I think this is. I don't think is this a half-inch board maybe. That, but it's the only thing is it's not solid. It's not plywood. It's like not. I don't know if it's particle board, but it's like MDF is what it is. So it's kind of composite, and so it's not. It doesn't take weight, and it moves a lot. You can see the cameras moving and everything when I press down on it. So that's the only thing that plywood would have been better for, because it was more solid. And yeah, so it's a half-inch MDF board. So, hi, Chris. Welcome in. Hey, Preston. Welcome in. Nice to have you in here. So, if it's nice, I don't know if you can see this, but I am streaming on Facebook and YouTube now. Restream will let me do that. And my best friend Preston, he lives in Pennsylvania, in the Philadelphia area, like right over the bridge from my mom and my aunt, so really close to them. So welcome in, Preston. It's nice to have you in here. And again, Chris, welcome in as well. We've been going through the projects that I've been working on. I'm working towards some certification with the National Model Railroad Association, and either building up some stuff, super detailing is what they call it, and doing some scratch building for those certificates, and also tonight trying out a new camera, having a couple of angles as well, and so that's what we've been going through, and and I check in with the crowd, see what everybody else is working on. Brick paper. What is brick paper? Just like the printed brick on paper, or is that some specific paper? The other thing, when I was looking for randomly seeing Tom's comment again about his iPhone 2, those iPhone 11s that we had, we had before that, we had iPhone 5s, and I only know that because I still have a box from the iPhone 5. So, Tom, are you using the Just Plug system still? I know you were working on that, and are you still using that system? Is it working for you now that you have it on the layout? So he's got something in here he's got a Lionel Depot kit bash that comes up. What is going on with this stuff? It looks like a lot of people are talking to him in the forums, in the .io type of forums and stuff. So So I'll have to see. I'll have to see what else that he's um, done, and yeah. Oh yeah, I've heard that too. That you can use the that was one of the things that I don't know if it was in this article. Um, if it was in this article, if he said it in here, but I also have heard that a number of times when detailing, that you can use a clear LED and paint it with one of a very light or opaque red for like the marker lights and stuff. So yes, you can change the temperature color with the paints. Um, yeah, that. Um, so let's see here. So he did with his lights. He used AA batteries and a switch that he put under the car. That seems like a lot of work to single pole, double throw switch, AA size batteries for the micro bulbs. Um, then he talks about. So he says you use a red lens for the marker lights. So it wasn't him who said that, but I've heard that a couple times too, that you can use paints to do that. And there are plenty of thin paints out there that you could do. So Jimmy, what are the? I know that Tamiya has specific uses the lettering specifically, like F is for flat, I believe, um, paints. Um, okay, so the XF is the flat. Um, Bottle paints. X it says gloss finish for acrylic paints, and LP for lacquer paint. And they have sprays. So so what was it like? Was it difficult to add the battery setup um, and the reed switch? So yeah, so that's what AI, I guess, is saying is X is for gloss finish acrylic paint. XF is for flat or matte finish acrylic paint, and then LP is for their lacquer paints. Yeah, but they don't all taste the same, and well, they don't all smell the same. That's for sure. Um, but yeah, maybe they taste the same. You mean color doesn't have taste? Because I'll bet it. I'll bet it does. Um, so yeah, and it was Brad. If he's still, I don't know if he's still in the chat, but it was Brad who had mentioned using the using for flat car for the New Jersey Transit flat car, which is downstairs, unfortunately, was the red Tamiya, and I hadn't used Tamiya paint. And let's see here, the flat Tamiya paint. So he said use this stuff, and I got their small bottle version because I didn't know how it would go. So let's try this again. So that's the XF7. So that's a flat red. And so it definitely has a smell to it that other acrylics don't have, but it's a very red paint. But when if you have it on thick, it's going to be very red like that. I put it on pretty thin on the car, and then I actually faded on it because the prototype pictures were all faded from sun and weather. So red tastes like Twizzlers. I bet it does. You guys are making me hungry because I didn't have a real dinner tonight. I'm gonna have to do that after the stream. So yeah. What? Yep, it sure does. So let's see right there. Oh, wrong way. Let's try this again. There we go. There's your flame icon. So it says may cause fire, may form explosive mixtures with air. Well, that's kind of scary. It may contain propylene glycol, monomethyl ether. That does not sound good. It also doesn't sound good that it may form explosive mixtures with air. So, and we all know the trouble I'm having with fumes. I'm gonna have to make sure I use this old guy. I've been using it, and I don't think I've been suffering from too much of the allergy. I thought I was the other day, but I think that was more sinuses, reaction to sinus and the weather change here in Minnesota as we're getting colder. But yep. So when I don this thing when I need like one drop of glue now. And isn't it lacquer thinner that from Tamiya that you can use as glue? Isn't it is that the thing that I hear it has the same properties? It's like the butyl acetate or whatever. And this says acetone and butyl acetate for this. I think it's one of those that I think it's the thinner that you can use as glue. I do use, even though I use mainly use Vallejo paints, I've used the acrylic thinner from Tamiya forever. It's just because it's cheaper than you get more in a bottle like this than Vallejo. And so I've always just used this. And see if you can see that price on there. That was the old days. $875 for that. They're now $950 at Scale Model Supply. And I used to have 2 bottles of this, and I used to always buy every time I started a bottle. I always bought another bottle because I was always thinning paints, and now I use the Model Air, so I don't thin them anymore. But if I use a ton of craft paints, and so I'll use thinner with those. I've started to use mainly water also, so this has lasted a long time. But I have that and use that for that purpose. Do you know this, Jimmy, from experience? I've seen the Humbrol thinner stateside in a couple places, but haven't seen a lot. I haven't seen their paints or anything. So anyway, I've been yapping on for about an hour and a half now, and like I said, I'm a little bit hungry, so I'm gonna go make myself a very late dinner, probably mostly of chocolate, since we just got an order in, a grocery order in today. But I want to thank everybody for hanging out, and Preston, if you're still in there, it's in the chat. It's really great to see that you stopped by, and appreciate everybody hanging out with me and following along with all of my projects and putting up with the tech issues that I seem to have quite a bit of. And just want to say, everybody have a fantastic weekend and go model something and just jump in and have a great night.